Well, hello everyone, and welcome once again to Ignite with Sandy. This is my first webinar for 2024, and I decided this year we should kick off by talking about our health and our wellness because, unless we are absolutely in optimum health, we can't pretty much do anything else. Our concentration goes, our energy levels go, our body doesn't function properly. And so I thought today I should bring on somebody who can give us a little more in depth information about our health. So, you know how it is. Every couple of months, you have a new diet and something new coming out. And we are also confused because we really don't know which one is actually going to work for us. So you hear a lot about from nutritionists and dietitians, etc. But today I'm going to be speaking to a lady who's going to introduce us to something a little deeper. And of course, as you know, I never introduce my guest. I always ask them to introduce themselves. So I'm going to bring on this charming lady that I've known for a number of years, and I'm going to ask her to introduce herself. Okay, so Madam Lisa, welcome
Well,
very much to
hello.
Ignite with Sandy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, and thank you so much for calling me a charming lady. That's definitely what I hope to expand and magnify this year in 2024. And in my introduction, I would just like to say that I have been working and evolving in this journey of optimal vitality for over 20 years. And I started my career as an editor for a magazine. I'm not sure if the long timers of Dubai would actually recall it, but Aquarius magazine. And after that, I transitioned to a magazine which was called NewYou, Look and Feel 10 Years Younger. And I think that this probably set the stage for me and my enduring passion with the evidence-based approaches to looking good and feeling great. And what I actually discovered in this whole journey of writing about integrative health and interviewing people and reviewing protocols and meeting fabulously fit people such as yourself, Sandy, along the way, I realized that there is a no size fits all kind of approach. So that is what I've definitely been exploring for myself as I, grow chronologically, but reduce my age biologically, which is not just something in my head, but it's actually something that fortunately now can be measured through DNA testing, which is a once in a lifetime test, which really does reveal so much about what's going on inside and what's going on with our genes and what's going on with our lifestyle. And so my introduction really ends and begins with the whole notion of together we get better. This is definitely what has helped sort of me. It's being around healthy people and learning about protocols that actually can support, optimal vitality.
Wonderful, my dear. And when we are talking about in depth, because I think what we're seeing in the last couple of years is, you fill out a kind of a questionnaire, and based on that, the dietitian or the nutritionist or whoever it is, whether it's online or whether you're in meeting in person, they then give you some kind of a diet.
See,
But
those days are over, Sandy. Calories
exactly.
in, calories out, those days are over.
So now,
And
what
now,
I would like you to explain to our viewers is because whenever we talk about DNA, it's always to do with ancestry or determining who's your father or mother or those kind of things. But now we are looking at DNA testing in a different way. And I want
Yes.
you to please explain that to our viewers.
See, DNA testing unlocks the wisdom of the genome, and it's a once in a lifetime test which can be expressed with looking at one's genetic ancestry if one is interested in that. But if one is actually interested in looking at the genes to understand, number one, our genetic propensities for certain conditions, it could be thrombosis, heart disease, cancer, and then one can also look at the epigenetic profile that our genes carry. And epigenetic, in a nutshell, means our environmental propensities for certain conditions. Okay, so how our inflammation is doing, how our toxicity levels are doing. So, how our environment actually helps to support our genetic profile, or in many cases doesn't help to support our genetic profile. And once we have this test, which is simply a prick of the finger, which then, in our case, in the case of Centum Longevity, which is one of the divisions of our company, Wellness World, we send everything to Scandinavia, where they sort of analyze your DNA, and then together with a functional blood test, not just a normal blood test, but a slightly more in-depth blood test, one is really able to see the whole panorama of what's going on from within. And then the beauty of unlocking this evidence-based approach to one's health means that uh, the indications are very, very simple. Very often, one doesn't need a pill for every ill. One can actually realize that perhaps one needs magnesium to sleep better, or that your exercise prescription should not just be, going for a random walk or a yoga class or a group exercise, but that maybe you actually need, three high intensity interval training sessions per week, or your self-care has to be related to bringing down the cortisol level in your blood. And this would mean meditation, not just in a random like to do, but in sort of a must do. Because ultimately, if one wants to invest in extending one's health span, then one really has to take measurability seriously. And that's what DNA actually nowadays does, which is beautiful.
Wonderful. Actually, uh, looking at myself as being part of the older generation, if I'd known about this earlier, obviously I would have been exploring it much before. But thanks to you, now I do know about it. So the other part,
But
before we come,
I must say, Sandy,
okay,
and for all the viewers out there, okay, Sandy is the living, breathing expression of optimal vitality. So clearly, you must have good genes, okay, because your mother is in her 90s. So that is a clear indication. So one can actually detect what's going on in your family by looking at your family. So, number one, you've got great genes. Number two, you have always, as long as I've known you, been very, very dedicated to regular exercise, and not just like, fluffy exercise, but lifting weights. A little bit of endurance training is absolutely mandatory for men and women. And no, it doesn't give you like, Popeye muscles. It really doesn't. So, in many ways, Sandy, you are actually the living endorsement of optimal vitality, and probably the most important sort of aspect that has given you an advantage is that you really cultivate a positive attitude, which is another
yes,
fundamental aspect of good health. Good health means good vibes. Quantum medicine is not just a woo-woo thing. It is actually validated by science. What you fear, you will attract. So if one really decides to be around healthy people and cultivate healthy habits, and prefer fountains to drains, and just live with a certain level of discernment. Guess what? You walk in a room, and no matter how old you are chronologically, the room lights up. And this is what I seek for myself,
Yes.
and hopefully I'm able to cultivate on a good day. And this is what I like to be surrounded by. I'll be really honest,
Yes,
And so this is the USP. This is the unique selling proposition. One's own internal charisma.
quite true, quite true. Actually, I remember, Lisa, when I met you quite a few years ago, we were on our journey of discovery. And it was, like, what should we be doing? And I have to say, over the years, you and I have really progressed in our internal emotional journey. And I think that is very well showing on us as we grow older. But as you said, weight training, that's something which a lot of people in my age group, especially, is like, oh no, how could I do that? I'll get pain here, I'll get this. And it's absolutely not true. And I know, because I use weights, and I'm not stupid to think I can pump iron and do this and do that. Yes, I will challenge myself, but I don't go into something which I know I'm not able to do, because I want to be pain free. I don't want to be uh, stiff. I want to be flexible and all of those. But the most important thing also, I think, what you mentioned earlier is, when you do this testing, it sort of tells you what kind of foods you should eat. So
Definitely.
based on that, I would like you to please share with us, for example, if I did a DNA test, what would be some of the things that I should be looking at in terms of diet and in terms
Yes.
of supplements? So how does
See,
that work when the DNA test is done?
the first thing to keep in mind that whatever your individual DNA test will reveal, the most important approach to intelligent eating is non-inflammatory food. Ill health equates to inflammation. When your body is inflamed, your ability to metabolize is hindered. You get that dreaded, middle-age spread, because effectively excess adipose tissue and flabbiness is nothing other than the physical manifestation. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And a non-inflammatory diet is a diet that need not be called keto, low carb, um, um, like macrobiotic or any of these things. But one should tend to opt for foods which are seasonal, which are colorful and varied, and which do not exceed in too many carbohydrates. So nobody's suggesting no carbohydrates. Like, I'm Italian, so we, as Sophia Loren used to say, everything you see I owe to spaghetti. So clearly one should not cut out any food groups. But if one sees through one's DNA that one's sugar levels are a little bit high and one's inflammation is a little bit high, then naturally a non-inflammatory diet needs to be looked at. And it's nothing dramatic, and it's nothing that will rock your entire menu at home. It's something that you can generally adopt for in the whole family without making a big fuss about it. That's one thing. And also remembering and keeping in mind that one has to opt for alkaline foods. Everything is either acidic or alkaline. And
Yes.
for example, any kind of, cellular disruption. So that's a sort of a polite word for saying cancerous, uh, thrives in an acidic environment. Okay. So one should tend to go for alkaline foods. And again, one just type out in Google alkaline list of foods, print it out, shove it on your fridge, and there you have it. But rule of thumb is the dreaded sugar. Sugar
Yes.
is addictive. And I can tell you from my own journey, experience, strength, and hope that uh, I have really struggled with messy eating over the years and yo-yo dieting because of my excessive attachment to sugar. And so now I really, really limit myself. The festivities were over. I had sugar over this period. But then I said to myself, I put it down and I will have it again for my birthday at Easter. Why? Because for my genetic type, sugar is highly addictive. Let's call it, I'm allergic to it. What happens to me? It's like a child who has too much sugar at a birthday party. They start going crazy. So what do? And many people like me, Sandy. The thing with sugar addiction, okay, it's, the sugar is in some way like the bitter truth. We don't realize that we're addicted to it, but in actual fact, it kind of, some people have a little bit of a dysfunction with the dopamine receptors. What does that mean? That's your pleasure center. So you don't just daintily just have a cookie and say, oh, how nice, and walk away. A lot of people, once they've had a bite of that chocolate, that ice cream, that cookie, it really is difficult for them to walk away. Or if they do, they're obsessing about it constantly. So I would say in the journey of optimal vitality, if you seek to expand and extend your health span, then, don't cut out categories of food. Be really regular with your lifestyle. But I would say, as a general rule, which would be applicable to any DNA test result, be mindful of the sugar. And in fact, in my house now, I have perfected the art of, making desserts without sugar. And I use a very, viable organic alternative, which is called xylitol, and tastes a lot nicer than stevia. And so I make desserts, but I don't need to exceed, because I just have one, and it doesn't give me that sensation of wanting to have another piece of cake or dessert or whatever it is. So, again, in the journey of learning how to, be your most radiant self, it's about making an effort, exploring, trying, doing your own cooking. That's another thing that constantly scares me. And maybe I'm becoming kind of, a little bit of an old generation. That all this like food deliveries and all of this stuff, it's completely out of my realm of understanding. And I like to cook my own food. I plan it in the morning. I, you know, I make my own salads. I chop them up at the beginning of the week and I put it in glass containers. So food is a strong element for fitness, and it's also a strong element for conviviality, because I don't want to be one boring goody two shoes. Not at all. And as they said, I don't know whether it was Oscar Wilde who said, all the best things are either illegal, immoral, or they make you fat, or, or like diets begin tomorrow and all of that. So definitely one has to have a joie de vivre. But if you seek to have a strong vibrancy and functional health, which basically means what? That when we get older, we can get up from a chair strongly. We can pick up bags. We can, move around without, shuffling around and I don't know which yogi said this, which I've never forgotten. You're as strong as your spine. And that's
Quite
enough.
true, quite true.
Strong as your spine. So again, posture, personality, and a certain mindfulness. And I think these aspects, together with a test, this once in a lifetime test, And in the same way that one goes to the dentist twice a year, one checks one's hormones. That's another critically important aspect. What happens
Yeah.
to people
Yeah,
in their
I
30s?
yes, this is what I wanted you to touch on, and I'm so happy that you mentioned it because what I am seeing a lot amongst the younger set is maybe it's stress, or maybe it's the extra sugar, or the eating, the order, the delivery orders coming home because it's convenient. But more and more younger people are getting, especially women, are looking at polycystic ovaries, hormonal imbalances, the skin, the hair, the what should I call, not sleeping well, being depressed, all of these things, and then they go off to the doctor to treat that symptom without going into the root cause. So now you're talking about that, and so sorry to interrupt, but I thought I'd
Yeah.
just bring that up because I wanted you to give us a little information about that.
Well, first, let me give you a sort of a sobering statistic that in the
Okay.
Western world, this generation is the first generation in a couple of generations that will live uh, that will not live as long as their parents. Isn't that
Oh,
frightful to think about?
wow.
This is in developed countries. Why? Because the quality of life, despite the affluence and despite the convenience, doesn't support healthy longevity. So this
Oh,
is frightening. And even if you look at younger people, okay, they don't look as fresh in many cases because the kind of life in front of a computer, never moving, never outdoors,
on the
and
phone.
on the phone, and digitally addicted, and also stressed, because I think the kind of moment in time we are living through, Sandy, is a moment of tremendous transition, and we are sort of letting go of an old way of living, and we're just finding the ropes towards this famous new age, which nobody quite knows how it's going to be articulated. So on the one hand, it can be super exciting with technological innovations and greater universal health care and like scientific advancements. And then on the other, you just have an exponential growth of these so-called lifestyle diseases called globesity. So, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, uh, and these are all conditions which people are actually getting younger and younger. So even if modern healthcare is able to keep them alive for longer, for the last, I think science has proven now that for the last 13.6 years, people's quality of life is decidedly worse. And what do I mean by that? That they can't move well, that their cognitive ability is less, and their ability to be, independent older people is, definitely compromised. So this is a serious risk to our future. And if you take a blood test and a hormonal test, you can actually see the state of your hormones. So I'm not interested in my chronological age. I'm interested in my bio age. And my bio age is detected by looking at various markers, but definitely one of the markers is also how my hormones are doing. And then now, instead of resorting to hormone replacement therapy, which is actually produced from equine urine, excuse me, audience, but that's what it's made from. Nowadays, we have gone back to nature. Natural hormones are now made from soya and yam. They are personally compounded for you and for me based on the profile of our blood work. And then a physician can prescribe a prescription. The supplements are sent to your house, and once a year you test your hormones. And then that can mean that in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, there is nothing stopping you from maintaining strong hormones, which is good for your hair, for your nails,
Absolutely.
for your energy, for your memory, for your libido, and for the dreaded, middle age spread, which is it's not a necessary thing. I mean, we
Quite
have a
true.
lot of things to worry about. We don't want to be worrying about that. So
Okay, so
these are the things that basically an integrative physician would tell you, rather than a
okay.
doctor sitting with you for, you know, 20 minutes and then, writing some random prescription where you really don't understand why you're taking it and what are the root causes. The new paradigm of medicine is more about deep exploration and testing. So if you go under a bus and have an accident, I would say absolutely go to an emergency room. Okay, if you have tuberculosis or an infectious disease, I'd say please go to a hospital. But if you have any of these lifestyle diseases that I mentioned, then the approach is different and the solution is generally very simple.
Okay, so now we're coming to this thing called telomeres. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yes. So
Okay, so
tell
what is that? What is that? Because I'm really interested in that and about the lengthening and the shortening and all of those things. So just give us a background on that and what does it mean and what does it entail?
So your chromosomes have two little caps on them, okay? And these caps can be measured, and over time, these caps, they're like the little, they're like the little ends of a shoelace. You know the little
Okay.
ends of a shoelace?
Yes.
Over time, these caps shrink and become smaller. And if you measure these caps, these telomeres, it actually gives a fairly accurate assessment of your biological age. Now, there are many other ways of testing biological age, both quantitative and qualitative, but the telomere test is one of the more scientifically advanced. Again, it's a test that can be done. It's one that we also do. And you know, the telomeres are mandated somewhat genetically, but definitely your lifestyle plays a big part. So I tested my telomeres, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. And so my telomeres showed me to be about 7.6 years younger than my chronological age. And then last year, I did my own DNA test with my own functional blood work in Centum Longevity, our sort of concept that we have. And funnily enough, it showed that I was approximately 7.5 years younger than my chronological age. So in some ways, I have maintained that same level of, you know, longevity that I had a few years ago. So it's good. It could be great. The biggest success story that we've had is with a gentleman who's chronologically 72, and we reduced his age by 13.6 years, and his beard became brown again. So
Ooh.
he was nearly crying. He was so happy. But it has to be said, Sandy, when somebody uh, takes their health on board to such an extent, it requires a certain level of discipline.
Oh, yes, perfectly. I agree with that
Yeah.
100%. It can't be like, okay, I'll just pop this and I'll
Yeah.
pop that, and I'll go and have this kind of food, or I'll get this, and everything else will be taken care of. It's not that. It's a very, I think, a very concerted effort. As you said, a lot of discipline, and it should be taken seriously. It's not something that you just do for a couple of days and say, oh, I'll take a break now and I'll come back and doing it. It has to be regular. Is that what you're saying?
I'm definitely saying that, and I'm also saying until about the age of 45, smoke, drink, go to bed late, don't take your makeup off at night, like do whatever. Because your youth and your radiance can kind of support bad habits. After the age of 45, if one wants to look vibrant and feel resilient and exude radiance, then one has to really clean up one's act. Let's put it that way. And that really means, you know, investing in understanding what's going on within, measuring, finding somebody that can monitor what's going on with you in a gentle, non-invasive way, according to everybody's vibe. You know, some people, you know, love the Fitbit and really want to measure what's going on. And that's one category of people. Some people really love to go on their journey of vitality in quite a private way. So they're into, you know, working with an app or working with a personal trainer. Other people want to do so in community. Although, coming to the whole notion of community, it has to be said that if one looks at the, you know, blue zone research that has come out, and this is a system of optimal longevity that has been tracked according to I think 11 locations worldwide, where people tend to live healthily into their 90s and 100s. And aside from the usual thing, like, you know, moderate, you know, daily functional training, which is, you know, walking up and down the hill and, you know, picking fruit or doing all of these things, or, you know, not having sugar and so on and so forth. One of the biggest drivers of people's health span extension was actually community. And by community, I mean coming together with like-minded people, not necessarily one's relatives, because one is born with one's relative. If you're lucky to get on with them, that's absolutely fabulous. But very often you find that within your close circle of connections, one's lifestyle and one's habits and one's ideals are actually different. So one must go out and find your tribe. And this is also why, after we closed the magazine NewYou, which was a BPA publication, sort of retailed all over the GCC, I thought to myself, what is it that I can do to keep my community of readers excited, involved, engaged, and informed? And that's when we started to do wellness retreats. A, because I wanted to do it for myself. Because how is it that you can embed new habits? You know, I think social media says it takes 33 days to change a habit. Actually, science proves that it takes 56 days. Okay, that's quite a long time. That's a month and a half. That's nearly 2 months of doing something new on a consistent level in order to see a change. So I thought to myself, let me bring people together. And instead of, you know, going off on a holiday where you max out your credit card, you eat too much, and you just do same old, once a year, people should go on a wellness retreat. They need to leave their usual environment, meet new friends, and learn and practice something new, which again is one of the ultimate ways of, you know, maintaining your joie de vivre. And you know, yoga is definitely one of the key activities that one can do. But there's somatic movement, 5 rhythms, there's Nia training. And, you know, we work a lot with one of our sister resorts in Ras Al Khaimah, because again, travel should not be stressful. So we take our guests to Ras Al Khaimah. We take them to a resort aptly called Nirvana, and there we expose them to, you know, Nirvana according to their vibe. It could be, you know, art therapy, movement meditation, sound healing, um, walking and talking to horses. That's another scientifically proven way to reduce your cortisol levels, which ultimately is what we all want to do. and invest in what matters. So I tell my ladies, you need another handbag like you need a hole in the head. Literally. I mean, think about it, Sandy. Do you have more space in your closet? Because I certainly don't. And this whole excessive consumption, be it food, be it digital, be it, distracting relationships and things to buy, is not good for us. So we need to simplify our life and really live by design. And I think more and more people are beginning, post COVID, they're really beginning to understand that this is this is what it means to live a luxury lifestyle.
Quite true. I think, you made some very important points here about, when we plan a holiday. So,
Mm.
right now, whatever we think about is like, oh, we'll go to a place or we'll go to places. And what does that involve? A flight and then a rush from here to here to here to here. And you're on sightseeing trips and you come home exhausted and you eat anything, and then of course there's mandatory shopping, and so you buy all these things because who knows when you'll go back to that place again, so let me just buy whatever I can now. And it's all about showing off when you come back. Oh, I bought this and it's not available in the markets here, and so I'm the only one who has it, kind of story. I think we've all been through that. And at the end of the day, at the end of the month, there's this humongous bill. Oh my God, like how am I going to pay off all of this? And I'm thinking, I do financial planning, right? And I'm thinking value for money. What can I do for myself which is going to make me feel better? How can I pamper myself? How can I get out there and do something different? Because these holidays are the same everywhere in the world. So I think it's important to start looking at doing things in a different manner, a different way to relax, a different way to unwind. And why do we need to go out of the UAE, for example, when we've got amazing places where we can go, where we don't have to take a flight? We are there in no time at all. Okay, we are still close to home if there's an issue. We're still close to office, but we have the opportunity to actually pamper ourselves, to unwind, to enjoy, and it's not such a big hole in our pocket. I think that's one of the main things. But I think we should start re-looking at what we call relaxation and what we call rejuvenation. And you've given us some very good points on that. So we're coming to the end of our webinar. So I know you've given us a lot of pointers. And if there's anything else that you would like to add, which we haven't covered, this is your chance, because our viewers are going to be really interested in knowing what else they can do. So whether it's what kind of supplements or what kind of food. You did mention earlier that you eat something which is seasonal. Now, in a place like the UAE, where you get fruits and vegetables 24/7, 365 from all over the world, what is actually seasonal anymore?
Well,
So,
I think, I mean, the first thing to say really about that is, in my house, in my garden, we plant stuff. So for several months in Dubai, not everything, obviously, that I have in my kitchen in terms of vegetables comes from my garden, but that in itself, the whole process of just slowing things down. There's no need for me to buy up the whole supermarket. Okay. I need to be more judicious in what I choose to do, less wasteful. I would rather spend on, having a massage once a week than I would on going out for, a random, like, ladies' lunch or something like that. I would rather cook for my friends. I would rather also look at the whole notion. And I think if, just to answer what you just asked me now, what is it that you would like to share with people? I would like to say this, that I have observed in myself, to the extent that I, stress less about how much I weigh, how, my wrinkle, is my stomach flat, does my butt look nice in this? The less I have stressed about these things, the more I have actually acquired a certain spiritual lightness of being. And the less it's all about, me, my body, my diet, my routine, and more it is more about like, how can I be strong and resilient so that I can actually give to others? This slight paradigm shift has enormously benefited my health. It's enormously benefited my sense of self-worth. And there is nothing sexier and there is nothing more alluring than a person who has reached a certain level of consciousness. And that really then reflects in your charisma. You walk in a room and it's not all about me, 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 but I am naturally cultivating curiosity, vitality. I keep my mind open. When I'm on social media and you have all these feeds about, like random distractions, I consciously say, no, Lisa, read a book. And by taking small, measurable steps towards intelligent living on a day by day basis, guess what? The default is that you start to live in an intelligent way. And that's really just very fulfilling, I would say.
Wonderful. I
That's it.
love that
That's what I want to say.
yeah, I love that intelligent living.
Yeah.
Really nice one. And I think I'm going to blatantly use that as often as I can. Right.
Intelligent living. And, coming to financial planning, for example, just to close on this, what is one of the biggest stresses that people have where you don't sleep and you argue and you get that horrible frown line? It's financial stress. So one has to manage one's money, without being worried about it, without being excessively, secretive, or, shoving everything under the carpet and saying, oh, I'm going to think about it next year. So in that same way, one is also open and compliant about one's health plan, financial plan and health plan. And that way, together we get better.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing all those gems, all
Pleasure.
those words of wisdom, and also telling us about this DNA test. And
Yes,
if I do get any inquiries, I shall be passing them on to you
absolutely.
because I think it's an important thing for us to be focusing on ourselves and members of our family. So thank you very much, Lisa. And I'm
My
going to
pleasure.
now
Thank you,
close.
Sandy. Happy New Year. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Maya.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. So there you have it. If you really want to start off this year well, perhaps you need that DNA test. I've already scheduled one, and because I want to know, I'm curious to know what is my internal system like? What else can I do? What else can you do to make yourself healthier and happier? So, Lisa made some really interesting points. And of course, she talked about the financial part, which I think is one of the biggest stressors that we all face, no matter in which age group we are. And as we grow older, it becomes more and more stressful. So, I think we need to take a step back and reassess where we spend our money. Not so much about earning it, but it's also about spending it. Where do we spend it? Are we spending it wisely? How about we invest in ourselves? How about we invest in our health, mental and physical? And why is it that we have to run off to a very faraway place and increase the carbon footprint on an aircraft when we can actually do things closer to home? That's another thought that we should be looking at. So, wherever you live, I'm sure there are lots of lovely places that you can visit, correct? So, let's look at this year of 2024 as intelligent living. That's what Lisa said, intelligent living. And let's be judicious in what we choose. Most important, stress less and forget about those trivial matters because they really are trivial. And most important is live a life of less consumerism and reflect on your charisma. So Lisa and myself are very much in that field. And I think there are lots of people out there who have an amazing charisma, but they don't know about it. So, first of all, get conscious about your charisma. And if you want to do that, I would suggest that you look into this very interesting thing called DNA testing. I'm going to get it done because I'm so excited to find out more about how my internal stuff ticks. And on that very happy note, I'm going to sign off now. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, Celestia, yes, the magazine, we are on the Celestial platform. And as you can see, we've brought you another fabulous episode of life and work balance, relationship balance, because that's what Celestial magazine is all about. So, what do you need to do? Don't forget, you're supposed to click on our YouTube channel and subscribe. You're supposed to watch this video, to like it, and to share, because that's how we get the word out. And remember what Ignite with Sandy is? It's firing up those neurons. So today we've got a lot of information, and I want you to ignite those neurons, go out, take action, do something. And on that lovely note, bye bye. God bless.